Welcome everyone. We're going to do a little run through here about using the rig that we created to do some animation work with that to clean it up. And just to show you where we're going with this, I'll just play this final rigged animation here. And you can see that what we've created is the cleaned up version on top of the rough animation that I previously completed. So I'll show you where everything is. So let's just take a look here to see where everything is right now. And if we look at this side here, okay, I'm just going to highlight that, hit O, and just to focus on that. And you can see that I have my rough animation over here. And then there's a peg on my rough animation just to move it around as needed. And right now it's deactivated. If I hit A, it activates it. If I hit D, it turns it off. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on right now so I can see it. And I'm going to take a look here. I'm just hitting 1 and 2 to zoom in and out. And I'm going to take a look here to show you just the other elements in the scene for a second. So you can see that I have background elements. And that just contains the signature card here in the bottom corner, which is simply just a group. If I go inside that group by hitting that little arrow, you can see that we have just the tag on the signature card and a drawing layer for the signature. And these are just the group ports in and group port out. Okay, just going to go back up. And same thing with the background itself. If I go in here, you can see that we have the port in, the peg, and then the painting itself. In this case, it's a PNG of the background. And then this is just the group out node as well. Okay, I'm going to go up here again. And then down here, this is a simple composite node. And you can see by the little angles on the side here that this node, if I hit the yellow box here, I've set to pass through, which means that I'm not actually doing any compositing with this node. I'm simply using it as a pass-through item to put the two pieces together for the final composition. Okay, and that you can see that by the wider line here as well in the composite going down to the final comp at the bottom here. Now, if we look over one more box, you'll see that there is a small little light setup here, and I'm going to break each one of these boxes down individually in their own little video for you. So I'm not going to break down the ins and outs of how these work at this point, but just for you can see the light box, the shadow box, which is here, okay, and also the block color box here. If I just turn that on, you can see that it just kind of dims that color down a little bit on the main character, is all on and set up to go through a grain node down into the final comp for the picture. Okay, now you can see that the rough drawings are currently active and showing on my work here. And if I go up to this one here, you're going to see this is the actual rig. So I have the peg for the layout peg for the rig, and then this is the group of the rig. The layout peg is something that we typically use just to place the rig in one position that we're going to start to animate from. Okay. Inside this group, you're going to have all the different pieces of the rig that we already created last week. So we have the large ball of the rig, which has a leader peg here at the top, which is kind of just the top of the chain. We have some grounded pegs here for offsets, and then we have the deformer layer, and then we have the drawing layer, which just separates out our line art, color art, underlay art with a simple cutter and a composite of those. And that is the same throughout the three different pieces of the rig. We have the chained box peg here, and then we have a grounded peg to do offsets below that, and then we have a group node, or sorry, a deformer node here for deforming the body itself, and then we have the drawing layer with the same setup here of line art, color art, and underlay art, which is used to cut out and composite into the composite node. And then we have the final back end of the character here, which is the ball and tail. Okay, so we have the small ball. This is the grounded peg of the small ball. the deformers on that small ball, and then the same setup here again with the three filters that are coming out of the line art, color art, and underlay art into the cutter and into a composite node. And then we have a tail which is chained into the main rig. We have a grounded peg for that tail to do some independent animation, deformers that live on that tail, and then the drawings of that tail as well, which go into the basic rig composite here, going into the composite out into the group. So, as you can see on this current animation that I've already done, you can see that it is animating out with the peg over top, or sorry, the rough drawing is sitting over top of the cleaned up version of the character right now. And I can simply go in and turn that rough drawing on and off just by selecting that option. If I go over here, this is my rough drawings, I can simply hit D and it will hide that out, and you can see that I have the final character. Okay, and it's all animating through. Now if I wanted to render that, I can simply hit the little render button here, and it would make a render copy of the character here for us to see. Just take a second there to do that, and then you're going to see that we have the proper shadow underneath the character. We have the lit light that's going around the edge of the character. Okay, and then it's all composited together into the final piece. So this is what we're going to do. So let's turn this back off render, and I'm going to turn off the elements that I don't need right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the background layer here, grab that comp node, I'm going to hit D and just hide that out. And I'm going to also go over to the block color here, I'm going to hide that out because I don't need that in there right now. I'm going to hide the shadow out as well because I don't need that as well. And the light, I can hide that out as well. And I can simply just go down here to the bottom and I can hide that out there. Oh, sorry, not that one. That's the body. I meant to cut out this, which technically I don't need to actually hide these out, right? I could grab all of these and just hit D and hide that out like that. Doesn't really matter. I could put a comp node under here as well and just hide that out. Just to simply show you how that would work, I would just create a comp node. Okay, and I could just comp that at the bottom here, which isn't going to change anything. If these were active, it would still just simply comp through, and then I could simply just hide and turn that off if I wanted as well. Okay, so either one of those works, and then we're just left with the rig itself. All right, now I am going to require my rough animation, so I'm going to turn that on. And you can see that I've just simply put my rough animation over top of my my cleaned up rig so that I can start to manipulate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the animation here, and I'm going to show you how you can start posing out the character in your own shot. Okay, so you can see that I have on the first pose here, I have all these little red keys on the timeline. These keys here are tweened keys for the shadow, and I've just manipulated the shadow to catch up to certain spots of the rig at certain times. So I'm going to show you what's in the ball rig. Okay, it's simply, if I open this up, you're simply going to see all the different pieces of the ball rig that we just looked at in the node editor, right? So we have the ball rig, we have the large ball leader peg, then we have the ball body drawing. If we keep going down here, we'll end up at the tail and the body, the small body offset in that. Okay, and I'm going to close all that up. And the best way to work when you first start doing this is to try and just key on the top peg, and then you can manipulate by working just on the top peg as much as possible. And if you have to go into a certain component and work with that specific component, you can always open the layers up and do that, or you can also look in the node editor and do that as well. But you can see here that each layer has its own keys on it, and I don't have to key all of these individually to make this happen. If this is all folded up, what I can do is if I select all of these and I simply go to the keys here, the key KF and plus and KF minus. If I hit minus, it's going to remove all those keys. So if I open this up, you can see it removed all the keys below that as well. Okay, and that's just because it's folded up. So when it's folded up, if you put a key on the top or you remove a key on the top, it does that for all of the drawings across it. Now it's important here to note that you do want to make sure that your rig is set up to not put keys on the drawing layers, only on the peg layers. And we did that when we actually developed the rig last week, so I don't need to go over that again, but that's something that you want to review and make sure that you've set up so that you're not putting keys on the drawing layers, but simply when you click on any of these keys here, that you're going to be, when you set a key, it's only going to be keying the that particular set of pegs on that part of the timeline. Now if I turn on my transform tool here, this is the animation transform tool when you're working with pegs. You're going to see, if I open up the tool box here, the tool properties, okay, I can also turn on this option here, which allows me to always select an object and default select its peg and not its drawing, right? So if I'm in here and I want to take a look at this, I'm just going to hit O there, and let's go into what we're grabbing here. So if I'm going to grab this ball here and I hit that, it's going to default to that first grounded peg, okay? And if I didn't have that set up, or the rig not set up properly to grab pegs instead of drawings, then it would have grabbed the drawing itself, which in this case is not what we want, right? We want to be able to grab the peg because that's what we're going to be setting the keys on. Now if I want to move up and down the rig, I can hit B on the keyboard or Shift B to shift down the nodes, okay? And that's going to be something you're going to want to get used to as you work, because you're going to be doing it quite often, okay? Now I already have the key on the first peg here, so I'm going to leave that one on there, and I'm not going to worry about the shadow right now. I'll just leave that as it is. I can animate that later, so I'm just going to again, I'll just take those keys off of there for now, and we'll just be left with this one key that you can create simply by hitting the KF plus, or you can simply hit F6 on your keyboard as well, and that will also create the key, or F7 would remove the key. So I'm just going to put that back on there before I go back up to the top, and I'll show you where we've positioned that to begin with. So if I jump up here, this guy here, okay, that is that peg right there. That is dragged into position for that first movement, right? So I've taken it and I've positioned it in place for this first pose, and that's all I've done with that peg. So I'm not going to animate this peg anymore, okay? I'm simply going to continue working with the pegs on the lower components of the node tree. So I'm going to go in here, and this is where I would start figuring out where I want to start manipulating my my movement. So if I look at this leader peg, for instance, you can see that I can grab a corner and I can rotate the whole body. So you can rotate just generally the body into place, and then you can go down lower and you can rotate just the ball if you would like, or you can squash the ball or stretch the ball at that peg, and you can also do it from the bottom peg here, which is squashing into the base. And these are grounded pegs, which means that you can do something outside of the chained version of the pegs, which is very important. Then if we want to start manipulating the body, I could do the same thing. You can see if I grab that body there, it grabs the body peg. So I'm going to go over here and you can see there's our body peg, and I hit B, okay, and it will go up to the chained body peg, which again will rotate from that front peg position that we set up when we rigged our character. And then we have the ball at the base here, and I'm going to hit O again, jump over here, and you can see it grabs the grounded peg for the ball, so I can rotate that independently. I can squash that or whatever I need to do, and then I can also hit B, and I can move up to the next peg above that, so it also rotates my tail into position. So I'm going to put some animation on that tail to rotate the ball and tail together, and if I need to, I will put some animation on the grounded position as well to create a position on there. Okay. Now, we're going to simply animate the pegs and the basic poses that we've created in our rough animation. There is additional ways to go in and add drawings or extra drawings to your layers as well, which we'll talk about in a separate video. But right now I'm going to just go through here and animate just the basic motion of the body going through here to show you how that's done. Okay, so if I start moving into the animation here, you can see that if I simply move my timeline here, okay, you can see that I can go to my next drawing on my rough animation, which is right here, and I can simply click on that key and I can set a key like that. It's going to set a key all the way down the entire group here, okay, all the different pegs. I don't have to have this open, I can fold that back up and then I can start working with that. So what I want to do is I'm not going to move the layout peg, but I am going to, okay, so I'm going to actually just hit this here and I'm going to hit O and I'm going to jump over to this peg, okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the leader peg, okay, make sure I'm on the right key, and I'm going to have that leader peg animate over to this position here, and I'm going to not rotate from there, sorry, I'm going to rotate from here, and I'm going to rotate this body. Oh, wait a sec, let me get the right one. I'm going to rotate this one up like this. Actually, I'm grabbing the wrong one, my mistake. The body peg here is what I was trying to grab, like that, and rotate my body up like this, okay? Now, my lower ball, I'm going to simply grab that one, and I can move up one node here into the ball and tail, and I'm going to move that up into place right here. I can rotate that peg so that the tail lines up as best as possible. Okay, simply like that. And then I can start manipulating the deformers on the body or the head or whatever I need to manipulate. To do that, you can use these buttons here to turn on the deformers, and then you can activate the deformers by simply hitting this green button up here to turn on the deformers of that particular body part. Okay, so you can see here now that I have the deformers active, I'm going to go here and turn on this one, which allows me to select the deformers. I can select more than one there. Okay, I'm going to turn that peg option off there, and I can start to go in here and manipulate these deformers to get a different look to the next pose. Okay, so I'm going to do a few poses here to show you how this works. I'm not going to animate the entire piece. I do have a version of that I can share with you, but basically what you can do here is you can go through and align your deformers to fit your drawing that you've already created, and keeping in mind that this is helping you to stay on model as well, because the model of the character is consistent with the rig, and we want to make sure we try and keep that on model as best as possible. Now if I want to switch over to the deformers of the tail here, I could turn on multiple deformers, so I could hit this button here, turn on multiple deformers, and that would show me my deformers here, or I could turn off my deformers simply by turning them off here, and then just grabbing the one and turning just that one on as well. And then if you want, you can manipulate that tail to fit a different shape. Okay, you can bring it in a little bit and just get it to match up to your next drawing. So if I flip through these drawings, okay, so let's just flip back and forth here, and you can see with the keystrokes here up at the top which buttons I'm using to flip back and forth through the keys. And I'm redrawing my rig to fit the look of my rough animation. Now I'll just continue on here. I'm going to do the next key, so I'm simply going to set a key again, and I'm going to start at the leader peg here and simply move my rig over, and I can start aligning it from there. So again, I can move this one, or I can simply go to the body here and I can start to move this one. Okay, so if I move this one up, I can rotate the body like that if I want. And then I can go lower. Alright, just walk up the chain, grab my tail. Okay, just align that. And then I can start working with these deformers. Okay, and it's fairly quick when you can do this. Okay, so again, I'm going to grab the body there, and I set up a hotkey to turn my deformers on and off. I used M to set up a hotkey for this guy here. So if you do want to do that, you can by simply going Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and then if you look at this option here, let me just show you what that says. Get the hot. It says Show Selected Deformers. Okay, so if I go under Edit, and then I go down to Keyboard Shortcuts, and I go Show Selected Deformers, you can see here that Show Current Deformer I've got set to M, like that. Okay, and then you can just save that, and then that gives you a hotkey to turn your deformers on as needed, and it'll flip between the different items a little faster than having to go to these buttons up here. So I'm going to go in here, and again, you can just manipulate the deformers to get your body pose where you want it. Okay, and this is just, I usually go back and I clean up a little bit of this afterwards as well. This kind of just gives you your basic positions. Okay, so that's probably okay for what I need. So I'm just going to, again, just flip through those, just turn that. Right, and we just go to the next one. So my next key is going to be here. You can see I'm starting to stretch here into this pose. So again, I'm going to hit F6 this time to set that key. And I'll go to my leader peg here, and I'm going to move that down here. Okay, it's going to be touching the ground right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that body, I'm going to walk up. Okay, and then again, just to show you where I walked up to, you can see that it's grabbing the top peg here. So I started down here, right, and I walked up with B to that first peg, and I can simply rotate that and start aligning what I need. Okay, and same with the back here. And then start manipulating your poses. Now I think I'm going to just work this position just a little closer to the other direction. So I'm going to just go back here to my leader peg, and just go over here. And I'm just going to pull that over just a little bit and reposition that so it's a little more in line. And I'm going to pull this one over as well. Okay, and then I'll grab the body, and I'm going to hit my M for my shortcut deformer here. Now I could rotate that a little bit as well if I wanted to, just to align that. So if I decided that I wanted to grab that and do a little alignment here and then start manipulating, I can do that. And then I'm going to simply work those shapes. Right? So I'm going to get this all in here, and this is starting to pull out here. And then I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to turn on his deformers, and I'm going to start stretching him. Now do be careful to not change the volume or lose the volume of the pose, right? You want to make sure you maintain those volumes. So I'm going to stretch this, and then I'm going to go into the large ball here, and I'll give it a little rotation on the grounded peg, and then maybe I'll even pull that over just a little bit as well. Okay, I can select all the deformers simply by dragging around them if I have this active. Okay, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to turn on these deformers and just reposition these because it's going into that stretch. Okay, and again, you can reposition the tail if need be. That tail's not too bad. Okay, and again, I'll just flip through the drawings here. Okay, and I'm just gonna make sure I keyed everything there. Alright, and you can see I'm starting to go into my squash position. So let's go into that next squash position, which is here. Okay, and I don't have the full rough here worked out for this one, which is fine. I can just work on this as it is. So again, I'm going to grab this, and my position here is probably fine for this guy. So I'll just go to my my next peg down here, and for this, I'm going to start to squash into here. If I need to make a new drawing, that's fine. I can do that as well, right? But I'm going to just try and use my deformers here to get a squash into that position. And then I'm going to grab my back end here, and it's going to be dropping down as well and stretching a bit. Now it's going to be slightly different than my my drawing here, because I didn't put a rough drawing of the tail here. And then we'll start doing the body. So I'm going to have that squash out here. Okay, you can always go back and clean these up a little bit. My tail here would probably start to deform a little bit, so I'm going to go in there and I'm going to have that tail start to deform. So the tip is still going to drag, right? And this ball here would actually start to deform a little as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go over here and grab that ground it peg. And let's see, I'm going to rotate that around like this. Actually, I'm going to rotate it like this. Okay, and then I'm going to just manipulate these guys in from there, so I'm not moving that other one. And I'll just clean this one up a little bit as well. Okay, so it's just starting to squash in there. And I just want to make sure I've keyed all that. Let me just make sure it's all keyed. And now I'm going to go to my next drawing here, which is continuing that squash in. So it's squashing in here. So I'm going to set a key there. And then it's going to jump out here, right? So let's go in here and I'll continue this squash. So I'm going to grab that ball and let me just hit the M here to hotkey into my squash. And I'm going to get a little more squash out of this ball as it goes down into the squash. And then my body shape here is going to change. I'm going to have this with the tail. I'm going to animate that down. And I'm going to have the tail start to go down this way. And the body is going to continue to squash out here. Okay. And depends on how you want to do it. I think I'm probably going to have this actually squash out this way. Right, your ideas and your drawings might change a little bit as you kind of work through it a little bit. It's not an uncommon thing. Again, try and maintain the volumes as best as you can. Okay, so here my body is squashing out. I think I'm going to have to get some more volume in here to keep that body volume a little more accurate. Okay, so again, it does differ from my drawing there, but I'm trying to maintain volumes. Alright, now the tail, I'm going to just make sure that that tail is going to start to go down here. And I'm going to pull that back actually on that one. And this one needs stretched. Right, so again, flipping is the best way to see what's going on in your drawings, because I feel like this needs to be longer. Okay, and just keep flipping it just to see what's going on with the volumes as you're squashing in with the rig there. Okay, and let's go to our next pose, which now the large ball is starting to come out. So I'm going to again just grab this top peg here, and I'm going to step up, and actually the position, what I'm going to do here is probably move this one up here because the top ball is going to move, and I'm going to grab the body. I'm going to step up here and rotate the body. Oh, I didn't go far enough. Hold on a sec. There. I'm going to rotate this down, and I'm going to have this guy rotate down here. So he's going to pull that back around, squash him down here, and my tail is going to be following. So I'm going to bring that down with the grounded peg, put that so it's coming in behind. All right. And I'll work the tail here in a minute. Let's just get our body redrawn here. Okay, so the body, right, I could squash and stretch it this way if I want, but also I can just redraw those deformers as well. So I'm going to have this go down here, and then this, I'm going to grab all of these deformers, and I'm going to hit this little button right here to reset those to 0. And what I'll do is I'm just going to, from the center here, just realign this, and I can give it a little bit of a stretch going out this way. Okay, again, just trying to watch the volumes. I do want to make sure that it's following the arc. Okay, so you might clean that up a bit. And then this guy here, he's all kind of stretched around, so I'm going to reset him as well, just to get him back into basic shape, and then I'll just repose that as well. Okay, so I think he's going to stretch up, and he's probably going to come out of the bottom of the ball here. This is all going to go in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to squash this guy. So I'm going to reset him. I'm going to grab all the deformers first, and then reset. And then I'll squash down here. Oh, just grab one at a time. Again, trying to maintain volume. Okay, and the tail, we're going to have to animate here, so as it comes down. Oh, I've got to key that. Just wait a sec. Key. And this is going to be pulled back, and it's going to animate down like this. Oops. Let's grab up here. My peg is not aligning, so I'll just remove that by the drawing. Oops, that's not what I want. Just flip through that. So I don't like the way this one's coming down, so I'm going to back that off a bit. Bring that back up here. Start to have a little bend there. And I'll have that coming through like that. Oh, and then this ball is now rotated off as well, so I gotta make sure that's updated. Okay, and that gives me that first squash and then coming out. Now my body's too thick here, so I'm going to have to go in and readjust that. Okay. Probably get a little more width there. Let's go back up here. And I think this one's probably a little too thin. Okay, and then the space on my tail I think is a little broken here. Right there, yeah. Okay, so see this one here, because I didn't rough that in, so I actually think the spacing's a little broken here. So I'm going to actually take this one. Let's go up to here, and I'm going to just respace that. So this one, I'm going to back that off. And this one I'm going to pull a little more in. And now just reset my poses here. Okay. And you can see this tail starting to come down, fold in, and it's going to go back up. So I go to the next drawing and I'll go out, right? So again, I'll just set a key there, and I'm going to go to the next drawing here, and I'm going to start to key that. So I'll grab this guy, and I'm just going to grab that top peg, and I'm going to align that to here. And I'll start with the main ball at the front here. So I'm going to go there, and I'm just going to, again, just reset those. I can give it a little bit of a squash here, but not too much. Okay, let's see. And then this guy is going to be coming out. So I'm going to reset him. And he's going to be stretching out a bit. So let's grab that. And I'm going to give him a little bit of a stretch out this way. Okay, and this guy is coming out, so he's going to be coming up off of here. And again, you work the shapes, right? Like, just look at your angles and work the shapes as they're coming up off of here. If you feel you need to adjust it to make it fit, that's fine. I'm going to have this actually come down here a bit. And I'm going to rotate that. And I'm going to animate this a little bit differently. Okay, and then the tail, so if I look at that, that's starting to like come out over that shape there. Okay, so I like that kind of like rounded look that way. So I might even try and start to pull that a little bit like that. And the tail is going to wrap up underneath that. Nope. And I'm going to reset this. So let's go back here. And reset these guys. Oops. And then I'll just animate that tail coming down. Alright, I want to try and capture that line, that S and C curve coming out of there. Okay, so that gives you the basic idea of how to animate the rig. Okay, so you just continue along and continue to pose over top of this. I'll show you a final version of this as well. Okay, but this gives you the idea of what you're going to be doing as far as manipulating the pegs and how to key them. Okay, and how to work with those keys. And then in another video here, I'll start looking at some of the compositing items for you to work with as well. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions, but this starts to show you at least how to get that rig moving and working on top of your cleaned up poses. Okay, all right, thanks.